What's going on, fam? How y'all doing, man? Welcome to the latest installment of TSC Q&A coming at you. Big ups to the family members. How y'all doing, man? Hope y'all doing good, man. We dealing with the storm and everything in the past. Category for a lot of damage, man. I was looking at some of the pictures earlier there. Hope all of the beautiful folks in the Black and Gold Nation across here is fine. Hit us up, let us know how you feel, man. Hit us up on the Saints Hub, 24/7 Saints Hub. Touchdown, let us know, man. Let us know how y'all guys making out there. Anyway, this is another installment of TSC Unleashed. On this episode, we'll be doing a little preview, man. We'll be talking NBA, a little NFL as well in this episode, man. There's a lot of stuff been happening in the world, man. You know, a lot of stuff been happening. But anyway, we're gonna preview this here today. There are 3 matchups that were postponed that are on the tab to pick up and go. And we'll start by introducing our co-host Mozzie 5. Uncle Mozzie's in the building, man. And how you doing, Mozzie?
Indeed, I am.
How you doing today, my brother? Everything fine?
So I had a little technical difficulties.
Oh, we got
earphones flopping around and such, But yeah, here I am. I am here.
Hey,
He's I and I am he.
in this one, bro, we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, of course, the resuming of the NBA playoffs, according to reports by several media outlets, including ESPN. So, and the players decided to resume the playoffs. This is reported on by Agent Wojnarowski, who said the NBA players met again Thursday morning, a day after the Milwaukee Bucks chose not to take the floor for the playoff game against Orlando Magic and voted in favor of resuming the playoffs, a source told ESPN agent Wojnarowski. Now, the Bucks' decision not to play Wednesday was led by the postponement of 3 playoff games that day, and Thursday afternoon, the NBA announced that it would postpone the 3 playoff games scheduled to be played later that day, which was Denver, Utah, Boston, Toronto, and the Clippers in Dallas. And then when games officially will be played hasn't been determined, as the league officials continue the discussions through the expectation that Wednesday's scheduled slate now will be played Saturday and Thursday's game will be held Sunday. So we'll see how that shake as well. There's a video conference call meeting scheduled later this afternoon between the NBA players and the team governors representing the 13 teams in Orlando, along with the representatives from the NBA Players Association and the league office. The NBA Labor Relations Committee Chairman Michael Jordan to discuss the next steps, quote NBA Executive Vice President Michael Bass said in a statement announcing the decision to postpone Thursday's games. Now, the players' decision to continue the playoffs came less than 24 hours after the Bucks made a historic decision not to take the Advent Health Arena court to play Game 5 of their first-round series against the Magic. The teams playing in the games later Wednesday, which were the Rockets, OKC, the Lakers, and Portland, follow their lead. Now, eventually, a long meeting among the players and coaches inside the NBA bubble at the Walt Disney World Resort was held Wednesday night, and the players met again Thursday morning. Now, exact timing of the playoffs will resume, and what will happen next is expected to be announced later on this afternoon, which is also includes a discussion of formulating action plans to address what they call racial justice issues. And of course, Michael Jordan on the Hornets, he's owner of the Hornets and only black majority owner in NBA, has become an important liaison between the owners and players, sources told ESPN's Jackie McMullen. Now, this is a lot going on. Of course, it was Milwaukee chose not to take the court against the Magic after Sunday's shooting of Jacob Blake, a 29-year-old black man who was shot 7 times by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a city about 40 miles south of Milwaukee. The decision also came 4 years to the date that former San Francisco quarterback Colin Kaepernick first chose to kneel for the national anthem during the preseason game at Green Bay in Wisconsin against the Packers. So how about that? But anyway, George Hill was one of the representatives led that, and he said it was sickening. He said it's heartless, it's effed up situation. Like I said, you're supposed to look at the police to protect and serve, nice, looked at as harass or shoot to almost a guy's like, thank God he's still alive, end quote. So that's some of the take right there covering it, man. And Mozzie, what do you think about the developments that happened to dealing with the postponement as the NBA is now moving forward to continue these games? We're going to preview some of these matchups today, and eventually when they get going, we'll come back with the recaps. What are you feeling on this?
Well, I mean, I think we touched on this yesterday. not in such specificity that we may have wanted to, but I think that we could all attest to the fact that I think the NBA players, I think players or people in general are just tired of it. They're tired of the senseless violence. They're tired of everything that's going on, and this is their only way to kind of lash out with it, if that makes sense to you. So at this point, I think they're just kind of lashing out, and I think that over a period of time, we'll definitely get something solved. I don't see LeBron walking away. I think if this may have been year 10 or 9 or 8 LeBron, we may have seen just leave it where it is and leave things alone. But because this is year 17, and I think that he understands he doesn't have that much gas left in the tank, if you will. He can't afford to simply just walk away from a season. As bad as he may want to, I can't see him just walking away from a season and just allowing Father Time to catch up with him, because eventually Father Time does get his man. He does apprehend and arrest everybody at some point in time. So I don't know if he's willing to necessarily do that. Much like the NBA has always been united. More united, more so than any other professional sporting entity that they may have. The issue that I think we'll wind up seeing as it pertains to them is some of the younger guys who can't afford this lapse in coverage, if you will. That may become a bit of an issue for them, because they obviously cannot afford to sit out 10, 12 games till next season, or however long this is going to last. So, although I could appreciate what LeBron is doing, and I could definitely understand where he's coming from and where the rest of them are coming from, I just don't think everybody's cut like that or built like that to be able to withstand those kind of pay cuts, if you will. So it just remains to be seen.
Yeah, and that's a lot to be said, because the NBA is very concerned about this as well, because of course, they got agreements with the television networks to fill slots. And when that happens, that just screw up all of the money. The agreements make everybody look bad, but it's good to see the players exercising power. Whether you feel they're right or wrong, that's immaterial. It's the fact that they're exercising that power, man. And that's something that let the people at the top know that you guys might own this thing, but without us putting in the legwork in the thing, you have absolutely nothing. In other words, Elvin Silver, if you don't like it, you come make these hoops. You come dribble this ball. You come make a layup. And I think that's showing their power dynamic. I'm a big fan of power to the people. Anyway, also, just to let guys know, the WNBA also postponed its games on August the 26th, and also posting this game on Thursday night, per reports, is that they're following suit as well. So a unified front across the board, with the players operating and using their power to let the big wig knows who really run the league. How about that? I don't know if I ever seen this before outside the customary labor. CBA in breaches that occurred. Sometime we had stoppages, like what happened in the late 90s, when they were still agreeing to the CBAs. But this is something totally different in today's climate, man. But anyway, let's move further into some of the matchups. We're just gonna mini touch on some of these things, because we covered some of these yesterday, and I don't want to be redundant. But the Nuggets, the Jazz, the Celtics, and Raptors, of course, the Clippers and the Mavericks. Which one of these games appeal to you most out of the Nuggets, the Jazz, the Clippers, and the Mavericks? Which one of these games stand out in your eyesight?
Well, obviously for me, it's going to be the Clippers and Mavericks. Is going to be the most entertaining of the two, simply because of the series record and where they are. Denver is my team, the team that I selected to actually go to the Western Conference Finals. So I mean, there's no need to really watch that. It's kind of it is what it is. I mean, it's like win or go home. So either they're gonna do what it takes to win. If they don't do what it takes, then obviously they're gonna lose, and I'll be wrong. And since I am a Swami, I'm not, wrong most of the time. This would be an oddity. So this would be one oddity, one odd rare time that you and the fam could catch me wrong, because I'm what my motto is. I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong.
You gonna lead with
I
that?
mean, here's what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and lead with that. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to, just from an entertaining standpoint. I'm looking forward to the Mavericks game. But from a prideful standpoint, obviously, I need Denver to come through and correct this a little bit, so that I could, my prediction could live. Because I predict everything. I predicted that enormous Clippers win a couple games back. I predicted the elimination of a couple teams early. I predicted Boston being able to advance with ease. I predicted the fall of Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. So I'm a prediction machine.
I must say you hitting on all cylinders right now. You might want to try your hand at them lottery numbers. But this is really good, man. To be honest with you, I like that series. Of course, I'm gonna be a fan of the Mavericks series. Of course, I'm gonna lead with that with the Mavericks and the Clippers. That still isn't over with. Very competitive. We'll see how it ends up. But
the Mavericks and the Clippers.
That's the one I'm gonna go on this matchup of these three that we making mention of here. But it's good to see what Luka Doncic could do. It's a tall order to topple Paul George and Leonard when they both playing really well. So we're gonna move on. All right, let's move on to the football news, family. And of course, you see what the NBA family is doing with the stoppage. Well, we had a few follow suit in the NFL. Multiple NFL teams canceled practice Thursday in wake of Jacob Blake's shooting. Multiple teams practiced Thursday in the wake of Blake's shooting by the Kenosha Police, the Green Bay Packers, the Bears, the Colts, the Jets, the Titans canceled practice, while Arizona, who were not scheduled to practice Thursday, announced they would not hold team activities. NFL Network's Jane Palmer reported that the Broncos decided not to practice following a meeting that lasted 2 hours. NFL and the NFL Players Association released a joint statement saying afternoon commending teams and players for vowing to continue the movement for social justice. NFL community is unified more than ever to support one another in these challenging times. We share anger and frustration most recently as a result of the shooting of Jacob Blake. There are a lot more others, man, you can put on there. But while passions continue to run high, we're proud that our players and clubs, league and union are taking time to have the difficult conversations about these issues that affect the Black community and other communities of color in America. We're especially encouraged that these conversations are about how we can come together to make the necessary long-term overdue changes in our country. We will continue to only use our collective platform to call out racism and injustice whenever and wherever it occurs in our community, but also fight together to eradicate it. That's a joint statement from the NFL, PA, and the NFL all together. Los Angeles canceled their scrimmages as well. As you can see, they had something on their massive billboard says, "I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change." Enough. That's what they were saying on there. And of course, Washington announced Wednesday that it will not hold scrimmages as Thursday as several other teams, the Broncos, everybody, are not holding practices and standing in solidarity. A number of teams elected to practice Thursday while acknowledging the events taking place across the country. The Cowboys, Patriots, Buccaneers, Steelers, Ravens, Jags, Giants, Rams, and Saints all practice. Each player on the Saints practice with Jacob Blake's name written on their helmet. How about that? And Patriots cornerback Jason McCourty told reporters that the team practiced out of routine and he doesn't know if they have the right to answer if they should practice or not, acknowledging the feeling of hopelessness and players feel lost. According to what Giardi was saying, McCourty also addressed reporters as well via Twitter, saying he says his biggest fear is that people get tired of yelling from balconies and fighting the injustices and become numb to it, and violence becomes normalized. So a lot of going on. Of course, the Cowboys, Mark McCarthy said it's hard to sit here and talk about football with everything going on in our country. So you got the coronavirus, you got the riots and the shootings, you got all kind of stuff going on. Fab, what do you think about the NFL stances going forward in the climate of what we're dealing with? So much stuff, man. So much stuff going on at the same time. It's a lot on the mind. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would. I'd definitely say that, and I would also go as far as to say that the NFL, unlike the NBA, man, they got a lot. I understand the practices, don't get me wrong, but I mean, let's just be real. The NFL is not built like the NBA. There are no guaranteed contracts. There's nobody making. I'm not gonna say nobody, but the average NFL contract is about $500,000, and these guys got agents, lawyers, lifestyles, bad financial literacy. They got a lot of stuff working against them, going against that $500,000, $400,000 contract. So, you know, every game kind of counts. There's only 16 of them, if that makes sense. Plus the incentives and practice bonuses and stuff that these guys really look forward to. So I mean, it's not like the NBA where you got a couple guys making. I told you I was about to get my jersey and go try out for the Pelicans when they would get, everybody's giving away $30 and $40 million at a time to just about anybody. I was going to grab my 30-40 million as well. That's how the NBA works. So for the NFL, I think the owners just have a lot more power, and I think that it's a lot different. And I think that it's going to have to be large institutional type teams like the Dallas Cowboys, maybe Tom Brady. It's going to have to be somebody like that. It's not going to be just the average bear at the NFL that's going to come out and say, hey, I want to boycott. I only make $500,000. I need every single check I could get, because those game checks to those guys are $30,000-$40,000 a game. So, that's asking a guy, hey, for this cause, can you not go to work and make this $80,000 plus get fined for whatever the fine would be for you to boycott that the owners are going to institute, which I'm sure is going to be in excess of, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 a game, if not a day, that they miss practice or don't report. So it's just a different dynamic. And although there's some top tier guys in the NFL that have been there for a while, kind of made some good decisions, kind of got the big contracts, those are going to be first up the bat. But don't look for this for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round draft picks or the guys doing their tour duty around the league that's bounced around the 6-7 teams in the last 5-6 years and can't, barely got a job, or, he's a punter hanging on by literally a string. I just don't see the kind of cooperation and the kind of cross the board unity throughout the NFL that we're seeing out the NBA. More people, less money. I just don't see it. Not out the NFL.
Yeah, that's true, man. And I mean, it's just fantastic times, man, that we're seeing, man. And it's a lot of good and a lot of bad, but you're seeing a lot of good coming out the people. A unique mindset, coming from out of it. We had a shift, and you can see the culture shifted. The world changed. A lot of these reporters used to shy away from talking about things. Now it's promoted to be talked about because it fits what's going on in the country. A lot of stuff going on, man. All at once, it's a lot, man. We usually see this much stuff going on. You got to kind of meditate and dwell back and kind of do more of an external approach, and then use your mind, meditate on it, and move forward, because a lot of stuff going on. We covered this on Q with Big Q, by the way. We got a really good show to be coming up real soon, by the way. That's gonna really lay the groundwork for a lot of stuff going on. So we got that work for you on Q with Big Q. Join us on patreon.com /the PRO Media Network and sign up, man, for that. But anyway, let's get into the rest of the football news here that's going on in the league. The Buffalo Bills release veteran kicker and former Seattle special team ace Stephen Hoshka. He was released, as well as their punter Lachlan Edwards. So they released both their veterans for basically inexperienced kicker and punter. So that's interesting, Bills. We'll see how that shakes. And of course, a news story, the Eagles offensive tackle Andre Dillard is out for the season after suffering a biceps injury. Andre Dillard, their starting tackle. So he's out for he's out for the season with a bicep injury. And there's a lot of that type of stuff going on here, Uncle Mozzie, man, with some of the people going on. We just fortunate that our Saints guys are not going out. And of course, some other news, the 49ers signed former first round draft pick wide receiver Kevin White. You probably remember Kevin White as a bust that they had in Chicago. He was there. He dealt with a lot of injuries. He never could set well. Guess what? The 49ers signed a former first round draft pick and add him to the team. Now, two other stories to make mention of, and Maz, I want you to comment on any one of these if you want, whatever you want to delve into on this one. The Dolphins made a trade today. They sent Kalen Ballage, who's a former Dolphin. They sent him to the Jets, as reported by Ian Rappaport, and he used to work with Adam Gase. Now he'll be heading up there to the Jets to deal with them. As you know, the Jets have a pretty good running back that they got from the 49ers. And speaking of pretty good running backs, Bears running back David Montgomery groin is expected to miss 2 weeks to a month because of that groin injury. Once again, I feel really fortunate the Saints are not going through these major injuries to their key personnel. Five, which one of these stories you want to touch on?
Well, I mean, I guess we could look at the Dolphins story because that's my dark horse team out of the AFC. They had a really, really good push last year, at the end of last year, to no avail, obviously. But they could have really just sucked and got went out and got the high draft. I mean, them in Cincinnati at one time were going back and forth. And I mean, with Joe Burrow sitting on the block, man, and you have the ability to go and get him, it just comes down to whether or not you're gonna trash your organization for the number one pick. Me myself, I may have done it. I'm not gonna lie to you, because the opportunity to add Joe Burrow, which is a generational talent in my opinion, I could be biased. I would have definitely what they call suck for luck. Remember that campaign?
Yeah,
I'd have been blow for Joe. Right, I'd have been blow for Joe if it was me, but it wasn't me. I'd have been blow for Joe, me myself. But hey, I guess that's why don't give me no team, don't give me no gun, because I'm gonna use it. But I mean, that did show a lot of pride and respect that they had, not only for themselves, but for that organization and that management and that coaching staff. So although it was I can't really say a boneheaded move, but they did get Tua. So I mean, it's like 6 one way, half a dozen another. It's not like Tua hadn't been to the big dance, had a remarkable collegiate career as well. His injury prone status, we kind of up in the air and shaking on, but if we can get around that, I don't think they fared out bad, all things considered. Can they keep it going is the ultimate question. I'm looking for really big things to come out of this team coming up this year, based on the performance I saw last year with the additions that they've acquired in the offseason, including Tua, who from the reports I've been reading has been having a remarkable camp. Miami has always been one of my favorite teams. I think it has something to do with their colors. It's some kind of weird child thing I had going on, but as a grown man, I'm still kind of hooked on the colors now. I love the city, so I'm really a Dolphins fan as a second or third option. Obviously, I haven't had much to cheer for probably 20 years or better, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, I think the Dolphins I think they're putting themselves in really good position, unloading trash, freeing up cap space, some good acquisitions, and I think that they'll do really good forward this year. The Jets, not so much. I think we talked about them yesterday or maybe the day before. They're a dumpster fire organization for the last 13 years. Has been a dumpster fire since Ryan left, along with oh man, help me out, the guy from USC, man, number one pick, Mark Sanchez. When those guys ran out of town back 11, 12, 13 years ago, that was kind of the wrap on them. And as far as the Bears, it is what it is. Nothing shocks me with that team. That team put everything they had, and this is why this is the bad thing that happened, which not so much now since the Matthew Stafford contract. I think that was the last one. It was either him or Sam Bradford. I got to check on to make sure, but this is why they don't give these guys coming out these large contracts like that anymore. It could just damage a franchise for a decade plus. And this is kind of where we are in Chicago. We're on that roller coaster. We just got rid of a devastating quarterback a couple years ago, and now we just drafted a new quarterback ahead of other quarterbacks that are doing really, really good in the NFL, which probably was a GM mistake. But I mean, again, I don't know how, but sometimes every decade or so, the Bears find a way to put a super team together, and they always win. They did it in 2006. They came back and did it a couple years later. I mean, this team just always finds a way to either get to the Super Bowl or get really deep into the playoffs with one miracle team. I don't know how they do it. They've just always been able to put that together. They're just masterful at that. And it remains to be seen. You just don't know what you're gonna get with either one of those teams. But that's my take on that 3-team deal. Still a Saints fan at heart, obviously. Love some of the moves they've been making. Yes, we have not been damaged or touted by any injuries. And going into this season, considering this is going to be a rock and roll season, no preseason to kind of get the old car warmed up and get things to kind of ease into gear. So it's going to be rock and roll head first out the gate, So this is going to be like a horse race, and you're going to have a lot of injuries. Teams are going to be playing at an insane pace and an insane volume. And the crazy thing is, it's still going to take these professional athletes, 2, 3, 4 weeks to get into the swing of things. And during that time, when you're trying to increase your endurance, increase your flexibility, get in what they call playing shape, that's the time you're most susceptible to injuries. So we've already done a really good job during training camp. If we can go into the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season without any injuries and kind of get everybody to play themselves into shape where they should be, given the fact that we're not having a preseason, I think that we'll have a really, really good shot. And we're not only winning our division and getting around Brady, but going and make a deep playoff run and what could potentially be Drew Brees' last year.
Yeah, potentially, because with the Super Bowl win, of course, you got to come back and defend it, and that'll be Brees' Elway impersonation of what he did in the late 90s. That's the dream scenario for me. Okay, now to cover this Dolphins-Jets trade, basically what happened to Dolphins, they sent a conditional 7-round pick 2021 to secure the services of Kalen Ballage. And I remember we talked about this on the podcast yesterday, was the fact that Adam Gase is a joke. And of course, we covered you that Le'Veon Bell wasn't happy with his snaps. He said on Twitter there's nothing wrong with his hamstrings, despite the fact that the team was trying to push like he was hurt. Well, they pull a move and get Kalen Ballage, who is familiar with Adam Gase as his time as a rookie back. He was a 2018 4th-round draft pick with the Dolphins. So we'll see how it shake. And then 2019 was woefully inefficient. He 135 on the yards for 74 carries, less than 2 yards, not very good in 12 games. Dolphins run game wasn't very good with Gase on top of it. So he now joins a crowded backfield in New York with Le'Veon Bell, Frank Gore, 4th-round pick, LaMichael Perrine, Josh Adams, and there you go. So it'll be Ballage now enters the room. Look for Le'Veon Bell. I don't know. I don't think Le'Veon Bell, to be honest with you, makes it out of this. Now let's move on to one final sporting note. We have a little boxing to talk about. Adrian Broner, man. Adrian Broner, a lot of people remember Adrian Broner from his time with Money Mayweather. Adrian Broner had been thrown in jail. And of course, his last fight was against Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao took him apart. We covered it on Ring Kings Boxing, by the way. And Eddie Too Mean Johnson, who's a boxing contributor, basically called this fight, calling Broner a shot fighter. He won't let his hands go, and that's what usually shot fighters do. They don't let their hands go. But anyway, the multi-weight world champion, former champion Adrian Broner has been sentenced to jail time and what could be his final nail in American boxer's career after losing to Pacquiao some time ago. Judge drew the problem in the cells for 7 days after probation violation linked to an alleged assault on a woman. It's the latest shame to befall on Broner, who last fought January 2019 against Manny Pacquiao. Broner was dominated and he was beaten up by Pacquiao in the fight. After his latest incident, it's hard to see any promoter offering Broner a similar spotlight. Recently turned 31. I mean, I consider him a shot fighter. His career over with. He had all the talent in the world, but not the discipline to execute. That's the thing that's always plagued Broner. Besides his big mouth, his lack of discipline and focus, which really killed the back of him. And the older he got, the more less discipline he got. And he looks for, and this is not good. He posts on social media threats to others and himself, have fans worried about his mental state. He is definitely the Kanye West of the boxing world. Adrian Broner, no doubt about it, man. And I kind of feel sorry for him. But then again, you did it to yourself, man. Learn to put people around you that keep you focused, that keep you grounded, man. Don't bring these parasites and these scumbags around, man, that want to feed off your success, man. Rock with the people that was holding you down when you didn't have a dime, man. That keep it real with you and give you an honest opinion. That's the best I can do. I wish Adrian Broner had that type of counsel as opposed to a bunch of phony balonies ahead of him. Now he's in jail. Hopefully he won't stay in jail for very long, but still in all, man, you can't do nothing to the women, bro. You can't do that. You're running on the wrong side of things. So, Five, you want to comment on this before we leave?
Hey man, like I always tell you, man, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't look good. No, it doesn't. But I mean, Brana, from his social media antics and a couple other things that he's been, touted for doing, in the last, I mean, one of those things, man. You can take him out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of him. You understand what I'm saying? But it is what it is, man. You can't have this kind of money and go around and just become. It's almost like he thinks he's invincible, like he's
Right.
trying to fill a gap or fill some kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have anything to prove, my brother. You came from what the nothing, out the mud, as they say, and you rose to the professional ranks and did really good for yourself. Humility is all. That's what's kept Floyd Mayweather around for so long. Has he turned into a fairly arrogant prick the last 5-6 years or so? Yeah, but 1997 to 2012, he was relatively humble, and he made a lot of money behind the scenes with that humility intact. Now he's a billionaire, so he can pretty much say whatever he wants to say, because no matter what happens, he's not, unless he gets to some real like legal issue, like knock on the door and arrest warrants and stuff, legal issues. I mean, that's the only thing that could really hurt him, or drugs. Other than that, he could open his mouth and say what he wants to say. But Brana hadn't arrived just yet. And although he did make a lot of money in his professional boxing career and he did well for himself, it wasn't well enough. And it's definitely within the realm of culpability for the powers that be. And I know you know what I'm talking about, Q, for them to just chime in on him. And as quick as they made him, as quick as they'll take it away from him. And people like him and AB and a couple other guys, they need to understand that, they'll put up with you as long as they can until they can replace you, or they got somebody to fill your gap. And there's a lot of hungry young boxers out there that would die to be in the position he was in. So, it's one of those sad stories, but we see it all too well. People that have traditionally not been accepted throughout their community or in their immediate environment, for whatever the reason, when they finally achieve that financial success and their prowess, the money kind of enhances what was already there. And what was there was a guy that had very low self-esteem, comes off as a prick, kind of a blowhard, always wants to brag on himself, kind of hammy, if that makes sense. And I don't know if he got that from Floyd, but one thing he had to understand, better part of 15 years, Floyd Mayweather didn't open his mouth. And then he became cocky after he got the check. You doing it in reverse, my brother, and that's the thing you have to change. Otherwise, these white folks gonna run you up out of here, and they'll show you. You better ask AB.
Yeah, and that's what they did. They put him in there, and all the money he's gonna need it to fend off all of the legal problems he about to get. So it's unfortunate, man. Another terrible story, but hopefully he's still alive. Maybe he can turn it around, maybe not. His whole mentality got to shift, and he way too cocky, for what he's doing right now. But anyway, that'll do it for the show. I'd like to thank all y'all for joining us on TSC Unleashed. So I mean, there you go. So I mean, I like to thank.
I never get to do that in the beginning.
I like to thank everybody for joining us, man, on the show. GM Kev, Jasper, Tori. Who else we got? JT, Adrian. Who else we got here? All of the family members. Thank y'all for joining us. Much love to y'all, and we'll see you later on the Sports Comb as we cover the latest Saints news and notes. Join me later after 6. Peace.